Hey, everybody. Welcome to Unscripted for today, which is Tuesday, May the 5th, the day after May the 4th be with you. And that means that... Go ahead.
Cinco de Mayo.
Hi.
On a Taco Tuesday.
Wow. So Cinco de Mayo is... what was the meme? What is it?
Oh, yeah. It said, imagine a world where Cinco de Mayo falls on Taco Tuesday, but nobody can go out because of a virus named after a Mexican beer.
So true. I'm noticing on both of our Facebook page and on our YouTube page that we are still on the Unscripted logo, that they can't see your wonderful face right now.
And they hear my voice.
I believe so.
Smooth,
on the Unscripted,
dulcet.
Yeah.
Voice.
They can hear your voice. So we have usually the fantastic Chris Kuchar is our tech guy. Today he brought in the amazing Chris Bell, who this is the first time he's actually run Unscripted for us, and
right.
So the blame goes totally to him. You know, if we're just being honest right now, that's why.
Yeah. I hung out with him enough to know yet how much I can bust his chops without him getting offended, you know? So.
Right. He's a very nice guy. Most Chris's are.
Listening and watching, unsurprisingly, we like to bust each other's chops at Holy Cross quite a bit.
So we will work on trying to get...
Hey, there we are. Almost.
Oh, good. Boom. All right. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Good work. Welcome, everybody. Hey, good to see you. All right. Paul Hoyer is on as well. Look at this. 3 screens. Turn down your volume, buddy.
There we
go. Next caller, turn down your radio. You always had to do that in radio.
Yeah.
Turn your radio on.
Yeah, I saw a little cartoon where this kid comes up to his grandpa. He's like, "What's this?" And his grandpa's like, "A transistor radio." And he's like, "What's that?" And the grandpa's like, "Oh, a transistor is used to slow down the current or whatever, and blah blah blah." And the kid goes, "No, a radio."
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, real quick, I want to give a shout out to my barber who is on with us today. Many of you know him as the guitar player for the Holy Cross Lutheran Church Lake Mary worship band. I know him as a good friend and also a fantastic barber. He has one style that he does. It's called the Kyle Williams, or as some of my friends are now referring to me, the Christian Un. But that's okay, you know. Haters gonna hate. Kyle Williams, I love my haircut. Thanks, buddy. Good work.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. So we are here at Unscripted, the 3 of us, and we have a couple of things to talk about today. It was interesting, Paul, you brought up, we had received an email, which actually, it's titled 24 Questions Your Church Should Answer Before People Actually Return. Now, we know this week, people, I've seen it. We just went to a restaurant and people were eating outside, but they weren't seating people inside. But I've been to other places where the parking lot's starting to get full, which is going to bring up the question, hey, when are the churches of the Cross Network going to be coming back to church? We're going to be getting that question very soon. What about VBS? What about the high school mission trip? What are we going to do? So I thought Paul brought this up. Somebody from our district sent this to us. They were 24 questions that you should answer before you even think. So I was going to run these questions by you and see what you guys thought. All right? Let's play a little game. And then by the end, we'll figure out exactly when Holy Cross is going to open. No, we won't. But here we go.
Yeah.
All right. No. What adjustments, when you bring people back, what adjustments will you make to the Lord's Supper, baptism, and to like things like the worship ministry. Great question. Do you believe you can conduct communion like you have in the past? What about passing a plate of, we don't pass the plate of elements, but we pass the offering plate, which offering. You got to think about that too. Think about when you have a church
that's
service.
That's one of the questions, I think.
Yeah,
down the line, that's one of the questions. Do you have an offering plate anymore?
Right. And exactly. You have 300 people in church. What if you're the 200th person to touch the offering plate? A guy like Matt Wallace isn't going to like that.
Not at all.
Not at all. So there. I mean, and realistically,
of course, I give electronically, Pastor Johnson.
I'm just saying.
So reoccurring online giving.
So that doesn't matter.
Because your dollar goes farther.
I mean, I agree with all that, but I'm just saying, does that negate your responsibility of passing the plate when it comes by you, Pastor Matt?
Yeah. So actually, you may recall that even the last time we met, where after this started, we hadn't gone to online yet. We did not pass the plate. We actually at that time, and just for that day, I think as kind of a stopgap measure, we just had the ushers hold it kind of at the end and
that's right.
Put in. But there's a couple different ways you could do it. You could just put the plates out for people to drop their offering in on the way out or something. The downfall with that is that then it's not really a part of the service, and the giving of the offering is kind of a sacrificial part of the service. Sure. So you could do that in the middle of the service, put the plates out and have people come up and drop their stuff in. But then the con to that is, are we making a show of it then? You know what I mean? And
or you just have boxes in the back or something too. You could do that.
Yeah.
But
then honestly, no joke. I thought about getting, in some churches, they have the baskets on the long poles. And you can hold them up, down that. No joke. I've thought that's a legit solution to this. Then we could still do it in service. No one else is touching it but the usher, Yeah.
We'll end up with so many gum wrappers in it. But getting back to the other questions that we've had, we're asking, if you're just joining us, we're going to talk about 24 questions that your church should answer before your people actually return. And so here's one. Will there ever, ever, ever be a day again that there's ever a common cup at Holy Cross Lake Mary?
I hope so. I hope we're able to do it for Maundy Thursday.
I mean, we usually only use it for Maundy Thursday, right? Once a year. But there's no way we would have done it this year. Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. Well, we didn't for Maundy Thursday.
We didn't do anything. We didn't even let people in the doors. But, I'm wondering. That there will ever...
That conversation, the conversation about common cup, that's where individual cups came from in the first place. In the 50s, when people started to worry about germs, they said, "Oh wow, we can't possibly have a common cup."
I like that nobody worried about germs until 1950.
They're invisible. I don't even believe it. There's these little invisible things called germs, and they make you sick. That doesn't make any sense.
So
people said
people then decided they would use the individual cups and get away from common cup. The other reason that they used was in the 1960s when segregation came in, when desegregation came in. A lot of churches suddenly switched from common cup to individual cups.
Ooh. Whoa! I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's messed up.
It was a big deal. Yeah, it was a big deal. And
wow.
So the argument has always been that it's alcohol that's in there, and you can wipe it. You wipe it in between, and there are a lot of guys who use an alcohol 180 proof alcohol that they dip the
that they wipe in,
and then they wipe it with that.
It's like they're not drinking that, are they?
I don't know.
That's clear.
Yeah, that's right. It spices up the rest of the wine,
Ugh. Yeah. So that I didn't know that part about. I always kind of wondered, like, what was the switch behind the common cup to individual cups, and 90% of the time we use the individual cups anyway. But that's shocking to hear that desegregation was part of the reason that we. Golly, I had no idea. Never
Not
had
part of
heard
the
that.
reason we went to it.
No,
Part
I'm
of
not
the reason
saying.
we went.
I'm not saying Holy
But
Cross.
in
I'm
the
saying.
history of the church, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh no. Let's make that clear, abundantly clear.
Paul
That
did not
was-
just confess something there. That wasn't a.
Orlando Business Journal's listening.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. All right. So they have a couple more questions too. Like, with that, what about baptism? When do you see it possible to baptize another infant again? Like, in how can you be responsible, practice physical distance, and still, do a baptism? I mean, that's a pretty good question. If somebody just had a baby, you know how parents are typically with newborns.
I think as far as like just having the family there, we could do them now. Honestly, like I could wear a mask if I needed to, but otherwise just wash or sanitize my hands before, and then you're going to have a family unit there anyway. They don't even need to socially distance. They're a family unit,
Right.
So if we did it like privately, we could do them now, I think, and it wouldn't be a big deal. I mean, they just opened up like elective surgeries and medical procedures and stuff again now, so like you can do things where you get close to people. And so, and as for the rest, it just has to do with when we start opening church again and bringing people back in, and how we handle that. But as baptisms, I don't know. I think we can do them now.
Well, and we already talked earlier today about, as we begin this opening up, our Lord's Supper practices may be different. We may not have the table, type communion where 12 people come up at once and stand,
Right.
Right next to each other. You're probably not going to do that as soon as we open up. Now, it's not to say we don't ever get back to that, but for now, until they have found a cure for this particular virus.
So
Yeah, it'll
one
be
of the
line anywhere else where you got to keep 6 feet in between, and then you just
Right.
keep people moving, and yeah.
Here's another one that they said, what if your worship is limited to 50 people, or what if it's limited to 100 people? Like the government recommendations say 50 or 100. We've been limited to gatherings of 10. So as we start to open back up, I think it's realistic to say that maybe the next grouping might be of 50, or maybe of 100. And that doesn't mean that the virus is gone. That means, they're trying to open it back up to where the whole flattening the curve was done to limit the hospital beds that were being utilized.
Right.
It was never to keep it. It was never to keep everybody from getting COVID-19.
Right.
And so here's the question that they said that you should ask. What if you averaged, Holy Cross, 350 to 400 people, if you average that, should you plan on adding more services and shrinking the length of the service? So, let's say they say, we really don't recommend groups of 50, more than 50. Well, all of our services are over that. Would you do 2 traditional services, maybe 3 contemporary services? I know one guy up in Wisconsin who didn't stop. He's an LCMS pastor. He continued to do in-person services throughout the whole pandemic, but it was in groups of 10. And they started at 8 in the morning and they got done at 7 o'clock at night.
Whoa.
They did 30-minute services, and you had to go and sign up for them. And you showed up in groups of 10, and he did it for 11 hours. Now, I don't think he had music or anything like that, but
he was.
Dude.
I can't imagine he was preaching like a sermon. You know, must have
hey, he was Lutheran. You know, he was preaching a sermon.
Right. And a Lutheran in Wisconsin, Matt. Come on. Yeah.
But,
so no.
Well, I was thinking as you were talking about that, Chris, you know, we could open it up. Let's say they said that we could have 100 or even let's say 75. Okay. That we could have in our sanctuary. What if we did that? What if we opened up each week and you put it online and the first, 75 people, and then you automatically go into the next service, and so you could say, okay, we've got 75 people that want traditional, and we got another 50 that want traditional, so we'll do 2 traditional services, and we got 100 people that want contemporary, so okay, we'll do 2 services of contemporary. But and you never know if you put time slots, like you said, okay, we could offer an 8 o'clock and a 9 o'clock traditional sign up, and then have 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock and 12 o'clock.
And 12 o'clock. Shorten them so that we have make them like 40, 45 minutes instead of an hour.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Or just speed up how fast you talk, Matt, like the Micro Machines guy.
Right. Or like when I watch YouTube videos and I put them on 1.5 speed, go faster.
Smart.
I'm already realized this is off subject, but I can never again do this while I'm sitting in a chair that rotates because it's way too easy to get going.
Oh, yeah.
I know why you were rocking the other day, Paul.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say was, though, that's a particular issue if they give like a number like that, like literally like 100 people or whatever. I don't think they'll do that, though, because at least so far, it seems like they're going percentage of capacity rather than just a flat number, which makes more sense because you can say, oh, you can have 50 people. And then some place that meets in a room that seats 25, it's cramming 50 people in there. That wouldn't make any sense.
Right.
So they're probably going to do percentages.
How much what's the seating in our sanctuary then?
So it's about, if you
500?
No. If you include the balcony with the chairs we have out right now, it's about 350. I think the most we could fit if we crammed every single chair in there. Well, let me just say this. I think the fire rating, like that's what I wanted. Yeah, is 425.
That's it. 420 is the fire rating, and we have 420 chairs, but that includes about 100 to 125 of those upstairs. Right. And so the downstairs is figured for about 380. Is about what they're 350 and then another bunch upstairs would be the most equitable way to do it. So you could say the downstairs, I could say we could say seat 350 chairs downstairs, but now that's not with 6 foot in between or anything like that. That's full capacity.
Yeah. So right now, I don't think they've even made these rules for churches, but for like other venues, restaurants or whatever, other businesses, they're saying they can operate at 25% capacity. So with a 420 total capacity, that's 105 for us, which would be big enough to hold our
8 a.m.
first for 8 a.m. Be right about where we're usually at, or maybe a little bit over for 11. But it would not be enough for our usual numbers at 9:30. And so, and especially, I think, well, and it could go either way. We've talked about this, especially Paul, you and I have talked about this, but I think we'll get a balance when we start coming back. But who knows? Because there may also be some people that are afraid to come back out.
Well, or people that just plain like doing it online.
Right.
You know, I told you I was calling through the list of members, and there's several of the 8 o'clock folks who said we may have lost them forever for 8 o'clock, because they just love having the 8 o'clock service in their pajamas with a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And I said, hey,
we haven't really lost them. They just, want to prefer the experience.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, to those of you that are thinking of doing that, I will say, please continue to tithe.
I will also say, when we go back live, we're going to make the online version really boring. No, I'm just kidding.
No, in fact, we're going to hopefully keep it new and improved as it has been. But anyway, so that's at 25%. Now, if they go to something like 50%, I think we could pretty much open back up. Because then you're talking, 210, which we're not, we're hitting over those numbers on like Christmas and Easter and Monday, Thursday, and Good Friday. But on an average Sunday, we're not having, our largest service on average Sunday is about 150, Yeah. And
so
we could easily.
What's another question, Johnson?
Yeah.
So Vanessa Lowry has a great question. She said, would it be possible to stream it into the fellowship hall, or would that not normally be enough for the overflow? That's a good point. It could theoretically, we could do omelet bar in the fellowship hall. Come on, wear your pajamas. Good stuff.
Yeah, we could. The fellowship hall, we could stream into there pretty easily. And just so you know, we've been working on that too, thinking about it, because we, like, the Chamber of Commerce meets in the fellowship hall, and so the fire rating on that room is 165, and but that's theater style seating, not with tables.
Right.
So around tables, we know that we can only do about 120 people. So around round tables. And then if you want to try to keep 6 foot distance, the table thing becomes almost impossible.
Right.
Janice Basler asked a question. It's one that we need to ask too, I guess. What happens if somebody attends and then afterwards tests positive for the virus? Good question.
It is. I saw.
Put them on the prayer list.
Right. Put them on the prayer list.
I mean, yes, but
that's also why, like, we would have to still be doing, again, up until they get a vaccine or things like that, right? We would still have to be doing the social distancing. We've already talked about either removing some chairs, or what may be a slightly easier solution is blocking off, like roping off some rows and chairs and stuff like that to make sure that people are maintaining a 6 foot social distance. The last thing we had done when we were still having services here was we had started a new protocol of like sanitizing all the door handles and things like that, before and after service. We had stopped shaking hands for a greeting. We had installed hand sanitizers. And so those are, that's right, the double fingers. And so, those type of things we're going to have to keep in place, because it's not like when things open up again, it's not like no one's ever going to get COVID-19 again. People are still going to get it, and so we still have to take those kind of precautions so that it doesn't, if someone does come that has it and doesn't know they have it, that their opportunities to spread it will be less. We may do masks, require people to wear masks, who knows? But we'll definitely have to take precautions. And I think that's gonna,
I think one of those questions on there too was, what do the greeters do? You're not going to have greeters shaking hands, but it is possible, Matt, that, they have the no touch thermometers now. And there's talk that when you have a gathering, you may just hold that up to everybody's forehead on their way in and make sure nobody has a fever.
That's right. And if they do, they get tackled immediately and dragged out in handcuffs. No,
that's it. Well, I think that, that would be a case where you might open up the you might open up the fellowship hall and have.
Oh, you put all the Corona people in there?
Yeah.
You have to go to the Corona room. Yeah. Hey, a couple other questions. One question that everybody is going to be asking here in a week or two. I guarantee it because I know I'm going to be getting it. How will Holy Cross, one of the leaders of Vacation Bible School over the last few years, how will Holy Cross go forward with VBS? In the past, last year we had over 400 kids, 200 volunteers, over 2 weeks of VBS. I think it's safe to say the VBS experience this summer will not look like that. But there are a lot of different options, and there's a lot of, we're going to be getting this question as things start to open back up. You know, do we as Holy Cross have a week of VBS late in the summer with 100 kids and turn away 300 kids? Do we do a virtual experience, or will everybody hate Zoom by July? Do we, do we postpone Vacation Bible School until maybe Christmas break and try to do a week then? Maybe we do it outside.
I had another thought, Chris. I was thinking about it. Yeah. By the time school gets done, I think you guys know that most parents are going to be ready for their kids to not be at home for a while.
Right.
The idea of that when they said, "Oh, school's not coming back," there was a couple of mothers that I got, notes on Facebook. They said, "Oh my God, I'm not going to be alone until August."
It's true. Was that from Matt? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So parents would probably like it if there was some kind of an option for their kids. Maybe what we do is do like every other week in June, every other week in July, do 4 times and limit each one to a certain age group. Like, let's say you did a week for just preschool kids, and you could probably stay under 100 then, and then maybe do a week that cause first and second grade. Or
what I've noticed during this quarantine, Paul?
What?
You are really trying to fill up every week of my life.
Yeah.
That's what I've noticed.
Yeah. It's my job to make sure you're earning your money.
Oof, man, he's going to have me doing VBS, puppet shows every minute of my life.
The thing is, that's so hard to tell because we don't really know what the situation is going to be.
No.
Right. So we've thrown out ideas too about doing something over video, not necessarily Zoom, but more like something live streamed, or something like that. And, that's always an option. Or maybe we will be able to kind of open it back up and do a week of, who knows?
I just don't see us realistically being able to do a 200 kid VBS in July or June. No. I just don't see how that would be possible. You know how VBS is. The kids are sharing snacks and doing all that stuff. Like, I just don't think that's responsible yet, and I would hate to be the epicenter of, the second outbreak or something like that. But I do think
the other thing is, if you try to limit it, you don't want to be the church that turned away 300 people either. We already know what that's like. People are not happy about it.
I still have hate emails from not getting kids into VBS 3 years ago. So I'm well aware of that.
Well, it's funny you say that, Paul, because I was thinking about that even when it came to doing church services, and if we can only have a certain number of people, like, man, you really don't want to get to the point where you're turning people away, or you're like doing a registration and then making people feel like only the privileged few that, registered in time get to come to church. And man, you kind of don't want to, you don't want to be that.
It gives new meaning to that thing of somebody sat in my pew.
Right. Yeah, much higher.
Right. All right. So we're managing to really not answer any of these questions. Here we go. Let's go to the next one. Are you gonna? Well, this one's not as important, but it's something to think about too. Are you gonna continue? Like, we come back 50% of of, let's say, capacity or whatever. Well, think about this, Paul. One of the most popular things we do on Sunday morning is the 9:30 Bible study. There's a lot of people in that 9:30 Bible study that love sitting close together that might be, no offense, considered to be high risk, a little bit older with some pre-existing conditions. If we come back, do we jump back into a situation where there's, 40 or 50 seniors at a 9:30 Bible study?
Yeah, I think you're back to the 6 foot distancing and maybe masks. I got a feeling that for a long time now, there's going to be a lot of places that you and I'll go where they are going to say masks are required. I really do.
I want to see you tell Grace Tuning she's got to wear a mask.
You know what? She'll be the first one to come out with one that's got pearls on it or something like that.
That's funny. You're right.
Yep. Roger Milligan says social distancing preschoolers for VBS would be like herding turtle.
Dude, no kidding. And actually, I don't know if Roger heard this or not. I wanted to make an announcement today that Roger is actually the preschool VBS director. So congratulations to Roger.
Thanks, Roger.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you
let's pray for Roger right now.
Oh man. So yeah. And then there's other practical questions too. Do you offer certain things that like we used to offer? Like, do you offer a coffee station, where people bring their own mugs? People bring their own mugs and they fill it up, like, do you?
Then everyone's touching that handle.
I already opened doors with my elbow prior to this. And now,
Yeah, but what you might have to do, you might have to have people serve the coffee and have somebody that's got a mask on and has gloves and all that.
Yeah. Let's see. Couple other questions.
Will they feed me my donut, Johnson?
Oh,
will they feed me my donut? Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. 24 questions your church should answer before you allow people to come back, basically. What's your strategy to clean and sanitize your church in real time? Pastor Matt comes at 4 a.m. Let's see. Okay. That was the other good question. And we kind of talked about it a little bit, but let's say they allow 50. Should you shorten the services, add more services, and, have your 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, could you potentially do something like that? I think that's an option. But then it'd be weird.
I think for us, if we can't really just open back up with social distancing, if we have to be that like cutting it off at a number like 50 or something, honestly, I think for us, it would be better to just keep doing it online and then continue to offer things like the drive-up communion. I feel like we've been doing a good job at doing the online stuff, about doing the online services. I mean, we're doing such a good job at it that apparently some people don't even want to come back. And so I don't feel like that's necessarily, hurting us. And if we're able to then start incorporating more things like drive-through communion into it again, so that we can still do that. And then we're able to, schedule a family baptism or things like that. I think it might be better to continue to do things that way and give kind of the best experience of that we could possibly give than it would to try to do like 4 30-minute services.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't think the payoff to sit in the room is worth that kind of what we would lose in doing that many short little services.
Well, then even your online ones wouldn't be full length.
Right.
No. Right.
So it would hurt that.
Right. One of the last questions that we'll go over today is, do you see perhaps a new staff position that came out of your response to COVID-19? And one of the examples they bring up is the virtual pastor, kind of like when I preach or when Paul preaches, like, you're the virtual pastor, or when you preach, I'm kind of the virtual pastor. I added the trees in the background. Would love, and I've requested a $10,000 budget to build my own studio over there in the corner. It's been rejected multiple times. But would you, I would love to do that. And I would love to have Holy Cross, when we continue to go back, to be able to have that virtual pastor who's, responding to prayer requests, welcoming people. And then the second part of that question is, what about when people come back, now that they're used to being interactive? How will you incorporate that interactivity when people are back in their seats at the church?
Well, yeah, I'd love to have us continue to do that kind of stuff. And I don't know if it would take a new staff position, or if it's something that we could have some people that are willing to kind of volunteer, or maybe one of those kind of in between where we have kind of like a volunteer that gets a little stipend. But for absolute sure, I think we want to take some of the things we've been doing well during this time and continue to do them. And one of those has been the interactivity of the live chats on YouTube and Facebook. And, like we've even talked, for those of you, listening to us right now, the three of us, we've even talked about finding a way to continue to incorporate that when we're back to having normal services, where people actually sitting there in the building are, still invited to pull up the live chat on the Facebook feed, so that they can still comment and ask questions that then the preaching pastor may see and be able to address, in real time right there, kind of like we have been doing. But, just inviting people to continue to do that, even when they're still here in the building. You wouldn't have to watch the live stream, because obviously you're there, but you could use the live chat in the stream to comment and say things. And so we definitely want to continue forward with those things. And if the three of us can't kind of cover that need, then yeah, we might consider a volunteer position, or a stipend position, or even a staff position. Who knows?
Yeah, I just we had one comment on the YouTube page that said, I know some Holy Cross members aren't exactly thrilled with drive-by communions, or they're not getting communion until church opens back up. And by all means, certainly, that's we respect that. But we also know that there are some people that are really, really excited about it. And the one thing that we didn't want to do, the thing that we kind of agreed, the three of us, is that we didn't want to do virtual communion. We wanted to kind of say, hey, we wanted to be able to deliver the elements to you. And yeah, I think we'd all agree that drive-in communion's not ideal, but it's what we're doing the time being until we can actually meet in person. Mm-hmm. Right, guys?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, even we talked about, visiting and doing it in the homes, kind of a thing, but even that really doesn't fit the pattern of how this is supposed to work.
Right. They say, communion is a sacrament of unity. We're supposed to be doing this together. And drive-in is not exactly that, but at least there's cars in a line, and you can tell that we're all part of doing something together. Right. And it's not ideal, but I think it's better than nothing at this point. I think Matt would agree, and Paul would too.
Yeah, it's definitely better than nothing.
Right.
That's
right.
Absolutely sure. I don't see how there could be much argument with that, but is it the most optimal thing we could be doing? I don't know. We're just trying to figure it out. So
this is my first worldwide pandemic. I don't know. All right. So why don't we, since it's too...
Hey, I had a question that came up, Chris, that came to my head while we were talking. We were just looking at the numbers with Dennis, and maybe you can remember some of those, of how many people have been watching the church. But the thought that comes to my mind, being the evangelistic pastor that I am, I wonder if we don't start getting some kind of online membership I'm thinking, and I know Jan Baszler's out there. She was already commenting, but what if we could have the Baszlers back as members, but they just came online every week, you know? What do you think of that, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, so, you know, this past Sunday, I kind of welcomed the people that we've had that are new and have just been joining us since we've been doing online. Many of whom are not even local. You know, they're from all around the country. And so, you know, definitely we welcome those people. I would consider doing something like that for sure. I think there are some legitimate, I don't want to shoot myself in the foot here, but I do think there's some legitimate questions, though, about whether or not we should encourage people to find a local congregation that they can be a part of and be, you know, and actually fellowship physically in person with other Christians. I don't think, you know, doing an exclusively online experience is really what we're supposed to do. It's a great tool, a great way to reach people. But you know, man, I don't know if I would want that to be someone's only church experience. You know what I mean? I think, but who knows? Like maybe what you do is then you supplement it with little home groups, you know, and I'm talking after the pandemic, right? You know,
right.
And you have people still get together with other people and still go out and serve and do things together, you know, as a body. And then, but then just for worship, they're worshiping online, long distance, you know. You know, I don't know, is there something there? Like it's definitely a question, you know?
What were those numbers, Matt? Like in the last 28 days, you were saying how many people?
Oh, yeah. I can pull them up. Hang on. Just take me a moment. So, yeah. Go to. Yeah, so let's see. Over the last 28 days, people have watched 64,602 minutes of our online programming. That includes the online streaming services. We've had 4,889 views of our videos in the last 28 days. Let's see.
That's just on Facebook, right?
This is just on YouTube.
YouTube. Okay. Gotcha.
Oh,
Gotcha.
wow.
So this doesn't even include Facebook views and things like that. So like, here's our top 5 videos of the last.
Number 5. Give it to them.
Number 5. When I preached on 2 Peter 2, we had 4,369 views of that video.
Number 4.
Number 4 was just this past Sunday. We had 4,181 from Isaiah 40. And here you go, Johnson. Number 3, coming in at number 3. Pastor Chris killed it. Probably not the best lead in for this.
Oh, wait, was that Good Friday?
Yeah, Good Friday.
Oh, yeah. Can't say that.
I know. I refuse that expression a lot, folks. At home.
Right, I know.
So I just did it without thinking. Pastor Chris did a great job. Good Friday, we had 4,949 views of that. And then another random.
YouTube.
This
Just on YouTube. Yeah.
So, and this probably doesn't include, I don't think, the live views, like the people that actually watched it when it was streaming. I think this is afterwards. This is like clicks, like afterward.
Number 2.
And then April 19th, whatever we did that week, because it doesn't say here, that was another just Sunday service, 5,872. And then coming in at number 1, Easter at Holy Cross, 8,938 views. So
that's pretty great.
So that's a lot of views, you know.
Yeah.
And not every one of those is somebody watching it from beginning to end, you know. But still, that's a lot of people clicking on our videos for a local church with a non-famous pastor that has 360 odd subscribers, to our YouTube channel. That's a fair number of views. That's pretty good. So, and again, that's just YouTube. That doesn't include Facebook.
There's your clue.
Whatever.
There's your clue to help to remind them to smash.
Oh, right. That's right. So yes. Let me share another statistic with you of the people watching our videos. Half of them, 51.2%, are not subscribed to our YouTube channel. So if you are watching this right now, even if you're watching on Facebook, head over to YouTube. Our channel is simply HCLM. If you search for it, it'll be the first one that comes up. Or if you're on a laptop, you can go to youtube.com/HCLM. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. And not only will you be informed of all this great content that we have, but also it actually really helps us out a lot too as a church, especially in times like, I don't know, those of you watching, how many of you have been affected financially, but if you're not able to give financially now, believe it or not, liking and sharing our videos on Facebook, subscribing to our YouTube channel is a great way to support the church, and it doesn't cost you anything. So we really love it if you helped us out with that. Thanks, Paul. That was a good call, brother.
Hey, what's the verse for today?
So the verse for today, I feel like I've done a lot of talking today, but I do have a verse for today. And again, it's just, I use Bible Gateway, a trustworthy app. If you watched my last vlog where I talked about different Bibles. And this is from very kind of apropos, again, for the times we're in, Philippians 4:6-7. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which passes all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. So just, a good reminder. So tempting to be worried and anxious at times like these. But in God we find peace. And that's also, by the way, I don't really do it much, but that's a traditional way to end a sermon too, right? Is to that little kind of benediction, and the peace of God, which actually says surpasses, all understanding will guard your hearts in Christ Jesus. Yeah. So Pastor Paul, I've heard you end sermons that way sometimes.
Yeah. That was my go-to end of the sermon. So it's a great verse, and I think it's a good verse because that Philippians, those people were under a little bit of pressure also. And the Apostle Paul was writing to them at a time when it wasn't always a good idea for them to let people know that they were Christian. And one of the encouraging things for me about this whole time and the number of views online and all that is that, Christianity is not as dead in this country as what some people think it is.
Right.
There's a lot of people out there still looking for good Christian message and want to hear about the grace of God in Jesus Christ. And I think having that verse that says, give thanks and remember, but don't worry, don't be concerned, I think is a good word.
Yeah. It's like my good friend Billy Joel used to say, the good old days weren't always good, and tomorrow ain't as bad as it seems.
There we go.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to do it. We are over time for today. And it's 2:23. Yeah. So with that, why don't I say a prayer, and we'll end for this afternoon. All right. Lord God, Heavenly Father, I thank you for this time. I thank you for the blessing of being together. Lord, I pray for everybody who's listening to the stream, Lord, that they would feel empowered by your Spirit, that you would guide and direct all of us. Lord, that you would keep us safe, and that you would help us to show grace and mercy, and to be the light to a community so that so desperately needs it at this time. I thank you, Lord, for loving us, for never giving up on us, and for sending your son Jesus to die for us, and that he would not remain dead, but that he would rise again, and that we would rise throughout the troubles of this world. In your name we pray, Jesus. Amen.
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 All right. See you guys. Good to talk
All
to
right. Thanks, everybody.
you. All
Don't forget, it's Cinco de Mayo. Eat your tacos.
right.